We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a podcast where we chat to artists about the music they love, their creative processes and their craft. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and as always, thank you for joining us. Our guest today is a rising star in the alternative music scene. It's Ratbag. The New Zealand songwriter and artist blends elements of alternative pop, grunge, shoegaze, and electronic music to create her own unique, genre-defying sound. In addition to her musical talent, she's also a passionate illustrator, crafting intricate worlds and visuals that perfectly complement her dark and moody songs. Earlier this year, Ratbag released Pinky Boy, and now she's back with her latest single, Pinky Girl, a companion track that converses with the earlier release from a new perspective. In today's episode, we're chatting with Ratbag about these two tracks and how the idea to have them speak to each other came about. We're also diving into the visual side of her artistry, exploring how illustration and music intersect in her creative process. And finally, we'll be talking to Ratbag about her upcoming Ratbag Comes for Tea tour, which makes its way to Australian shores this October. Now, we want to say a massive thank you to Miriam and Asta for their help with today's episode, and remind everyone to check out the show notes for links to stream Ratbag's music and buy tickets to her tour. While you're there, you can also find links to our website and socials to stay up to date with all things This Song Is Yours. Now let's get into it. Here is our conversation with Ratbag. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Ratbag. Ratbag, hello. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing very well today. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast and coming to chat to us about music. I'm very excited to kind of chat with you today.
Me too. I'm excited to see what this entails.
Hopefully nothing too ominous, nothing too scary. I am super excited though because there's a brand new Ratbag single out at the moment, Pinky Girl. It is a fantastic song. Congratulations, firstly, on this. How are you feeling with this out in the world now?
I've just realised that I unintentionally made my light pink for this, so there's that. But yeah, I'm feeling very good to have that song out. It was quite a quick turnaround of a song, which is unusual for me. It's usually a long process, so it feels like a very raw and in the moment track for me, and I also wrote it in one day, so I'm just very happy to have it out there.
That's very exciting. I know that this track was kind of it's almost like a companion track, which is, I know that there's like A-side singles, but I was trying to think of artists who have singles that are kind of in direct conversation with each other and really struggle to find a lot of examples. So I think it's really unique in what you've done. Pinky Girl is in conversation with the previous track, Pinky Boy. Mm-hmm. Firstly, what kind of stemmed the thought or the idea to do that? Because again, it's not something that I think is quite common. So it's quite a unique thing to do from a songwriting perspective.
Yeah, I love conceptual stuff. I love conceptual albums and conceptual anything. And so I had the thought to do that before I even knew what I was doing. I had the thought years ago, actually, like it's something that I just had sitting at the back of my head. And I wrote Pinky Boy and realised that Pinky Boy was his own character and everything. And I actually was writing Pinky Girl knowing that it was about Pinky Girl, but it doesn't actually mention any lyric whatsoever with Pinky Girl in the whole song, which is cool because I think it means that you get all the context from the first song. And I just always wanted to have two songs that spoke to each other. It's just really interesting to me. And so I just did it.
I absolutely love that though. It's kind of something that I feel, again, is unique. It's something that you've then thought about obviously quite a bit and then implemented in your songwriting. I do know that the world of Ratbag does have a lot of world building, which I kind of want to get onto in a little bit as well. For these two singles, they are very sonically different.
That was what I wanted to do. I did that on purpose for sure.
Because the two songs, Pinky Girl sonically is very different from Pinky Boy. Pinky Girl seems to have this bit more of like a indie folk pop almost kind of vibe with these exquisite strings that you've done. And then Pinky Boy, a little bit more indie rock. There's little bits of electro in there. For you, how important was it to have these two distinctive kind of sonic characters, I guess?
It was very important to me. I was writing the songs at the same time. Although I wrote Pinky Girl in one day, Pinky Boy had been going for over a year, which is what I was, talking about before, where songs usually take me ages to write. And so Pinky Boy had always been this kind of punky electronic feel. And I just knew straight away that Pinky Girl had to represent Pinky Girls, which to me sounds like dreamy cinematic strings. And I was fortunate enough to have 3 producers to help me with that. And I just really wanted the contrast of sounds to represent all of that. And obviously the lyrics do that too, but I think the sound was the most important part to me.
When you are kind of going to do a project like this and you're trying to have distinctive sonic palettes for these songs, I know you just mentioned 3 producers. How do you kind of convey that to them? Do you take like some examples of songs to them, or like what's the process for making sure that they're exactly what you're envisaging for these songs? Can't even say it.
Luckily I also produce, so I am kind of the 4th producer of those songs as well, and that helps me a lot. The terminology is obviously there when I also produce. I used to be like really horrible at explaining what I wanted because it was so, I could see it all in my head, and I was really awful at just getting it across to people. Like my producers in the past have just stared at me in confusion like many times, and they've been like, what do you mean by make a song that sounds like blah, blah, blah? And over time they've got to know me more, and I've obviously also shown them what I mean through my own production. Sometimes I will just go home and like do what I mean, but it won't be to the full extent of what I mean, and I'll take it back and I'll say, this is what I mean, can you help me make it cooler? So that's kind of what I do. It's a mixture of those things, and sometimes you just hit the nail on the head first time and it just happens. Like that's what happened for Pinky Boy, for example. I just spent a day with one of my producers and it all just flowed out. But most of the time it is a bit of a process. I'm very particular with my sounds. It takes me a very long time to get what I want. I'll be like, sometimes I'll spend like an hour just getting the piano tone right or something. And it's just the way that my brain works, but it all comes together in the end.
100%. And I think it's also very fair in the sense of, like, we've been talking to a lot of artists recently about how sometimes being both a songwriter, the artist, producer, can sometimes kind of come across as like an element of control freak. But I think that you want that if it's your project. You don't want to put out something that you're not happy with, that you don't have pride in as well, right? Yeah,
I need to be across all parts of everything, visually and sonically, lyrically, everythingly. If I'm not, it feels, although it's not fully mine. And that's not to say that I don't really appreciate all the help, because I need the help to elevate it. And I think that working with multiple people on a track only makes things cooler, because if you all put your best ideas into something, you absolute like top idea into something, it's just going to create something amazing. So I'm all for like collaborating, but if an element kind of gets run past me without me having to actually look at it, it kind of freaks me out, and I need to like see everything as my like baby. And then I feel like it's ready.
I think that's completely fair though, and I think that it's something that kind of, especially for a project like Ratbag, it makes sense. This is not just a musical kind of project for yourself. There's a lot going on within the world of Ratbag, which I kind of love. It's extremely unique. For anyone who has not seen some of the artwork or some of the visuals that you put out with these songs, they're incredibly kind of I was trying to look up different words for how to describe it today, and I did struggle. I won't lie. There's elements of goth. There's elements of what was it? There's some like fantasy in play in terms of different bits and pieces, almost like a little bit of steampunk as well. There seems to be lots of different incredible influences coming in for this project. Curious to I guess to begin with, in terms of talking about Ratbag and the world building, what came first for you in terms of the drawing or the music?
Definitely the drawing. I didn't even consider music as something that I could do until I was like 15. I looked at making music and I saw it as this godly thing that I would never be able to do. It seemed like this magical being, and it just seemed really, it wasn't a tangible thing. So I just stuck to my art for a really long time, although I had interest in music. Like, there's lots of songs I wrote when I was little on the guitar, and my dad has like an awful amount of recordings of those. But no, I've always been super, super into art. Like, I took art all the way through school. I always put like maximum effort into my artboards over any other subject. It's my art right there on the wall.
I thought that might be. That's very cool.
So that definitely came first. And then I realized when I was 15, I just wrote a song one day, basically. And I was like, oh, that wasn't even that hard. I just kind of realized it was tangible. I could actually do it, but I wasn't good. I'm not saying I was good. I was not good. I also couldn't sing for ages. I wanted to make music so badly, so I almost forced myself into learning how to sing. I honestly couldn't sing, which is why it annoys me when people say, like, oh, I wish I could do this, but I just can't. Or like, I wish I could draw, but I just can't. It's like, you actually can. You just like force yourself to learn it. So I just started making music, and then I started producing. And I remember having a moment when I was younger where I realized that I could actually put art and music together. I don't know why. I just felt like I couldn't have them together at one point. I just thought it was too much for anybody to take upon. Like, if I just threw, here's my visual art and here's my music, it's in the same world, I thought that that'd just be like, that's too much. But I realized, like, maybe a year into making music that it wasn't too much, and well, maybe it is, I don't know. But it's a good amount of too much. And so I started putting them together. All the stuff on the wall I made before I even started making music, and it's all to do with the world. And that's why it was really interesting, because I realized that I had made the world without even putting the music into it yet. I just had already made it. And so putting them together was a very satisfying thing.
I absolutely love that. I was curious about that last little part you mentioned in terms of, like, I guess the crossover or like the influence. Do you ever, and this might be a silly question, and if I'm not articulating it correctly, please let me know. But do you ever find that one influences the other in a kind of way? Like, you might be drawing a certain character or a certain thing, and in your mind be like, oh, that's a great person for a song or a visual for a track or music video or something like that.
Absolutely. They always come to me in different orders. Like, that's why my order of doing things is so random and jumbled, because it's always being fed from the other medium. Like, I went to art school for just one semester when I came out of high school, and one of the projects was to create a character, which I really enjoyed. And I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I just started creating a character, which is this guy. Mm-hmm. And then I started getting more into music and stuff, and I realized that it made so much sense that that's one of the characters from the world. And I'd basically done all the work without even realizing I'd done all the work. And it's very much this and that, and it all just combines when I need it to. It's also frustrating, though, because I'll, sometimes be like, I know what I want, I just can't conceptualize how to draw it right now. Or I know what I want this to sound like because I can see it, and I can see the colors and the feeling and what it looks like and the texture of it, but I can't seem to get the sounds right. Like, there's these really frustrating days. I'd say like 50% of the time I'm in that state. But then the other 50% of the time, things all line up perfectly, and it's like two planets aligning.
For the for the part where it doesn't work out, or you do find yourself like a little bit stuck, for young creatives who, I know we were just discussing it before in terms of people being like, oh, I can't do that, or the thought of, or maybe the pressure of creating something.
Yeah.
When you do find yourself not being able to find that exact part, do you have any tricks for moving past that, like moving beyond a writer's block or the creator's block in a way?
Usually I just cry for a bit. Usually I just feel so annoyed at myself that I just cry, and then after that I'm like, okay, this is dumb. I journal. That's what I do. Got my journal right here. Like, I have a whole presentation for you. Journal. I will love very full of pages. I've got 3 other ones that are full. They just help me to like get out of my ruts, basically. I don't super use journaling for what most people use them for. Like, I don't sit down and like diary my day out. They're more like messy bullet points of things that are making me feel like absolute shit, or things that I need to get out of, and that's often what helps me out. And if it doesn't help me out, it just helps me to acknowledge that it's there, and then it helps me in the future to get out of it. I have a thing about journaling where, although sometimes after journaling you feel worse because you actually see your problems on a page rather than in your head, it always, always, always helps, because you always end up knowing what your actual problem is, rather than like hiding it at the back of your head. It will come out eventually, so you might as well just write it down. That's what I think.
I would 1000% agree with this. I've said this to numerous people in my life, that it is, even if it's not the exact thing of what you're feeling, it's now out of your head in terms of just floating around without any context. So I would 1000% support that as a method to kind of help move past any kind of mental blocks. Curious, when you mentioned before you started to experiment with music at 15, what was it that you were listening to at the time? Who were you kind of listening to, or who were you looking up to?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say my biggest artists when I was 15 would have been Beach House. I was crazy about Beach House. Declan McKenna, who's still one of my all-time favorite artists. I was getting into like the beginning of Radiohead and like Talking Heads. I'm fortunate to have a dad with good music taste, so that's always been on my side. But yeah, I think it was mainly also 21 Pilots were my big phase. My biggest band phase ever was 21 Pilots when I was like, it might have not been 15, it would have been more like 14. But yeah, just those ones I think might have been it.
I absolutely love that. Does your dad, is your dad musical in any capacity? Are your parents musical in any capacity?
My dad likes to play like silly songs on the guitar, like comedy songs. My mum has no musical bone in her body, but she is the most supportive mother in the world, and she calls herself Rap Mum. And it's honestly like, it's great. She makes me like draw her Rap Mum shirts for like shows and like anything. She's got like like, I'm not joking, she has a wardrobe of Rap Mum merch for herself.
That's the coolest thing I've ever heard, and obviously like so lovely and supportive.
Yeah.
Honestly, shout outs to Rap Mum in this episode for obviously supporting Ratbag in terms of all her musical dreams and endeavours. I know that we've obviously gotten 2 singles this year. We got an EP last year in the form of Why Aren't You Laughing? Might be a little bit of an obvious question, but are we looking forward to possibly releasing more music next year in 2025, like another body of work?
Absolutely. There is definitely more to come, as there always will be, hopefully. But yeah, I've got a good amount of songs done, and I'm just piecing it all together now. And I'm very excited. Sometimes I feel just a little bit like annoyed that I only have 6 songs out, because I have so many ready to go, and so they will be out very soon, and I'm very excited to have them out and to sing them live as well.
Of course, there are a handful of dates in Australia at the end of October. The tour is called the Ratbag Comes for Tea Tour, which I think is just such a fucking cool name for a tour. What can fans expect from these shows over here in Australia?
Without spoiling too much, they can expect that they're going to step into a world that is not this world, that's for sure. I'm going to do everything I can to make it feel like you're not on Earth, through costumes, props, the way that I am going to play the show in terms of like interludes and stuff. I love going to concerts so much. Going to concerts is one of my favorite things in the world, but there are just numerous times that I'm at concerts, mostly when they're on the more small side, where I just feel like it sort of reaches the 3/4 point, and I just feel like I get a little bit bored, and I want to make shows that keep you entertained all the way through, and that not only do that, but also just make you go on emotional roller coasters throughout the songs. And I just basically want it to feel like you're actually not on Earth for like an hour. And then you can go back home after that and like go back to all your problems.
Mm-hmm.
But, just for an hour, I think that's my main thing I want to achieve for these shows.
I look very much looking forward to these shows. There's some dates in Melbourne and Sydney, I believe. And it's exciting to hear, obviously, that I know that every artist kind of wants to work on their live show and make sure that they're creating something special. But especially because we have been talking about your art and world building, I am sure that these shows are going to be absolutely exquisite. We are going to make sure that we have the links in the show notes for people to be able to buy tickets to these shows. For you, I guess, I know we just mentioned new music, but are we able to mention maybe what 2025 does hold in store? Is there anything that you're wanting to achieve, dream goals, dream collabs, anything like that?
Ooh, good question. I guess collabing is always something I want to do. I don't want to put names out there because it almost jinxes it. There's there's more than a handful of people that I would love to work with. But yeah, producer-wise too, there's always really cool producers. And I think in terms of goals, I think I just want to keep building the Ratbag fandom, which is very small right now, but it's there. And one of the fans started a Discord channel, whatever you call it, the other day. And like, I promise I didn't pay them to do it. I didn't handcuff them and like tell them they had to. They did it themselves. And I think it's on like 250 members now or something, which is so cool to me. And they're all from everywhere. And the chats in there have been great. And I hop on there like once or twice a day and just check it out. And they're sending fan art and outfits that they're wearing and like talking about shows and sending Ratbag memes, and it's just a great place to be. So I would hope that would continue to grow, and that I can meet those people, because I genuinely would love to be friends with them all.
Well, it's clear that you've obviously given them a space to become like a community and obviously share similar aesthetics, imagery, sense of humour. I might be missing a totally obvious one here. Obviously, Taylor Swift has Swifties.
I don't have one yet. I want to have one.
Okay. We'll put that out into the universe. Hopefully anyone within the Ratbag community can come up with a fandom name for you.
I'm ready
I don't want to... I've got some things rolling around in my head, but I don't want to put it out there because I feel like it's not my place to...
I do too. I don't think I should be the one. So I'm gonna wait till it happens.
Very fair. You and I can discuss and trade notes after this interview. Ratbag, we would usually kind of wrap up our conversations talking about what you're currently listening to, if there's anything that's on high rotation for yourself.
One of them is right behind you. I love Brat. That one's been a big one this year for me. I've been loving the Magdalena Bay album. That's just, in my opinion, best production of the year, and songwriting-wise, amazing. World-building-wise, amazing. Chapel Roan and Magdalena Bay are the only, as far as I can see right now, are the only other artists that are, like, doing the whole world-building thing. And it's really exciting to me, and I love it. Like, if a artist or band is world-building, I'm probably there. Like, whether or not the music is for me, I'm still going to be there in some way, because I just love world building. So they've been my top ones, I think. And then I've been having a huge Blood Orange phase. And then I just have my constant go-tos that I listen to all the time, like Radiohead. Like In Rainbows is just like every day. I play every day. Never get sick of it. But yeah, I would say those are my main ones right now.
I absolutely love that. And look, saying this not simply to suck up to, because we're having a chat at the moment. We recently had last month, while you and I are speaking, we had Magdalena Bay on the podcast.
Oh, cool.
And in terms of getting prepped for today, I would say eerily kind of like similar kind of research done in terms of the world building and finding different sonics and approaches to different stuff. So look, I can kind of see why you might like that, but also, yeah, fantastic choices.
Cool.
Ratbag, thank you very much for coming onto the podcast today. I very much appreciate it. The single Pinky Girl is out now. We'll make sure tour dates and the single are in the show notes for people to access. But yeah, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you very much. We'll see you later.